handyman, Alan Prichard, and he works at Prichard Contracting, and I asked him to come here and talk a little bit about, if you are a home buyer, what do you look for when you go to a showing that, maybe your real estate agent didn't tell you to look for, that maybe only a handyman knows to look for. So Alan, what do you look for?
I look for all the trouble areas that you will commonly see in the house. Things that's going to pop up on the home inspections, and usually you're coming straight into the kitchen. So some of the things that we're going to look at in here, one of the main things that I look at is life safety. Is your electrical good? Your GFI is good? The smoke alarm is good? Do they work? Now we're going to come over to the sink. And what you're looking for here is one of the great things about being a buyer. You're coming up, they've got nice fixtures, but you want to check under the cabinet. You want to check the P-traps. You want to look under here to see if this has been leaking. If it's all bubbled up, rotten or soft, you know that they've had plumbing issues. Another thing that you really want to look at, you want to look at the efficiency rating of the house. 90% of America's homes are single pane windows. Very, very inefficient. This house has double pane windows. They seem to be in good working order. They look even. They're not drooping to one side, so that tells me, that the foundation and structure of this area is good. When you see huge offsets, it could be an indicator of foundation problems. So this is one of the things that I was talking about, uneven spacing. And you can't lock the dead hole. And you see the gap here. So this is kind of an alert that you want to inspect it a little bit further. Is this structural problem? Is it an install problem? And what's going on with it? So it's very evident on this door, something's going on, investigate further. Okay. Hey, we're here in the bathroom of this house. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the things that I would look for in a bathroom. One of the things, it's just like in the kitchen. You look at your caulking, you look at how well it's been maintained, you hunt for the water stains. Anytime you're looking at a house, I know it's not yours, but you want to go ahead, flush it. Watch for water coming out around the base, around this part right here. That'll tell you if the seal is broke. It's usually a wax ring seal. You want to check your grout lines, your caulking, make sure there's no cracks in the showers. Being that we're in here, and this is where the electrical panel is, we're going to hit on that real quick. This is an Eaton electrical panel. You can get a shot of that if you want, and I'll step over here to the side. If this has got a Federal Pacific or a Zinsco panel, go ahead and plan on replacing it. Federal Pacific had huge problems with fires. The Consumer Reports has said, absolutely, if you have one, to change it. If you're buying a house, put it into the deal that they have to change it. It's a fire safety violation. They've caused many, many fires. So if you open your panel, it's going to say on the front or on the inside of the door what brand it is. If someone's ripped it off, like this one is gone, but if you look at your breakers, they're going to tell you GE, Square D, Eaton, Federal Pacific. So one of the things that you want to look at when you're pulling into the drive of the house you think may be the house of your dreams, you want to check for certain things as a buyer. You want to look at, is there trip hazards? Is the sidewalk dropped? Is it cracked? Is it broke? And then as you're coming to the front door, kind of pay attention to the windows here. If you want to take a look at this right here, it'll show you this is one of the areas that you want to look at. I don't know if, so all this caulking, you want to make sure that there's not big gaps and water going in between the brick and the walls. And I've kind of looked around at this house. There's not a lot of structural damage, but if you zoom in on this, this will tell you one of the things that I'm talking about when it comes to structural damage. So if you follow this crack, it goes all the way down to your foundation area. Now, I understand why this one's cracked. It's here at a vent. And my rule of thumb is if it's an 1/8 inch wide of a crack. So if you take 2 quarters and stack them on top of each other and they'll go in that crack, you have issues. When it comes to roofs and gutters, if you take a look at the roof in the background here, if you see these shingles sticking up, it's called nail pops. It's actually a simple fix, but depending on how long they have gone like this, could lead to leaking into your home. You want to look for curled up shingles. You want to look for the sways in the roof line to know if you have problems with the structure above it, or if it's just from bad maintaining a roof. If they're really old, you lose granules on your shingles, it'll leave dark streaks. So you know that it's pretty much time for a new shingle roof. And then as you're looking at it also, take a look at your gutters. See if the gutters are in good shape. See if they're clogged up. See if they are adequately ran off from the house. Rule of thumb is any downspout needs to be extended from the house at least 6 foot. I like to go more, but you want that water away from your foundation. Okay, on most of your houses, your crawl space entrance, if it doesn't have a basement, is going to be on the back or side of the house, down at the foundation level. Some you'll go in through the garage if you have a garage, but most of them are just like this. So go ahead and open it up and take a look inside. You don't want to buy a house and not inspect the crawl space. It could lead to huge, very expensive repairs. One of the things that I would check for is, do they have plastic vapor barrier between the insulation and the ground? What kind of condition is it in? Another thing that I'm going to look at is there water standing anywhere in the crawl space? Is there a sump pump? Preferably under any house, you're going to have a sump pump to where if water does get in, you got a way to get it out, get it dried up. The longer moisture sets under a house, the problems become significant. Once it goes through this insulation and saturates your subfloor, you have to replace your subfloor. It'll start rotting. It's also a haven for termites. And while you're looking underneath the crawl spaces, that's another thing that you want to look for. Mud tubes is exactly what it sounds like. It's little veins of mud going up joists, sill plates, fascia boards, and beams where termites travel. They build a little tunnel everywhere they go. So if you see little mud tunnels running all over the wood, you know you've got termites. Just the general smell under a house and in a house is going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you, you know, was there pets that were urinating in the house? Is there mold growing underneath the house or in the house? Honestly, this crawl space has no smell to me, so that tells me that it doesn't flood. So that's one of the great things about being able to get under a house and looking at the plumbing, seeing if the sewer lines are leaking, the water lines are leaking, foundation, see if it's leaking. So another good thing to look at when you're walking around the house doing your outside perimeter tour, take a look at the HVAC unit. See if it's been maintained, see if it's old, see if it's new. One of the things you want to look at is, if you look at this one, it looks brand new. So if you come a little closer, and you look through here, you'll see the coils. On a lot of old units, they'll be all mashed and no airflow can get through. So this unit actually looks brand spanking new. I don't know if it is, but it looks brand new.
Well, special thank you to Alan, who is an awesome handyman. Thank you for helping us all know how to buy our dream home a little bit or need an expert opinion on bettering your home, you can contact Alan at Prichard Contracting LLC. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.